Hi, today I'm going to take a look at the Makita DJV184 cordless jigsaw. I'm going to tell you what I like about it and most importantly, why you shouldn't buy it. Hi, this is Fergus from Beyond Utility. Today I'm going to take a look at this cordless jigsaw that I bought from Makita, and I'm going to tell you what I like about it and one major issue that it seems to have. It's an LXT jigsaw, so it's on the 18-volt platform, and it's one of the newest models that they do. It's a D-handle design, which I really prefer, and I struggled whether I should buy this one or the DJV182. For comparison, I've got this older corded jigsaw, which is the 4350 FCT, and I've had this one for about 8 years now, and I use it sparingly. I find the ergonomics of it quite good. There's a power button on top, which you need to press to turn the jigsaw on and off, and when you push that, the light flashes to let you know that it's on. It switches off automatically after 5 to 10 seconds, so you have to push this button pretty much every time you use it. So easy access to this button becomes really important, and I find this one really easy to do there. The barrel ones seem to have the button in one of two positions, either further forward there or down there. I suspect down there is probably easier because that's the natural position for your thumb, but certainly for me when I'm holding this jigsaw, it's really easy to just switch my thumb up there and get onto the power button. Once you switch it on, it's got a variable speed trigger. And I think it also has the soft start function, which everybody seems to hate, but is pretty easy to switch off. I think I just switched it off the first time I got it. It's a lot lighter than the corded one. It comes in about 2.4 kilos with the battery and only 1.7 kilos without the battery. Compared to this one, which is 2.6 without the cord, so it's about 900 grams or a third lighter. Overall, they work in pretty much the same. You know, jigsaws are fairly straightforward in my opinion. There's an adjustable base plate where you can loosen a bolt in there and the angle of the base plate can rotate. They've both got plastic covers over the metal base plates. The way the blade is inserted is slightly different in each model, and on the older one it's a two-handed design. You first need to rotate this and then hold it there and use your second hand to insert the blade. Whereas on this one, the mechanism stays open so that you can just push the blade in with one hand, and when you release it, it pops out. I definitely prefer that. I think that's a much nicer way of doing it.
However, the mechanism has some tension on it, so you sometimes can't easily insert the blade without pushing the mechanism forward. And it's the same for removing it. Sometimes it pops right out and sometimes it gets stuck and you need to push the mechanism forward to get the blade out. This might be part of the oscillation motion depending on where the mechanism is currently placed, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not clear why there's tension on this mechanism, and it does make the blade removal and insertion a two-handed operation sometimes.
They've both got the same oscillation controls, off and then 1, 2 and 3, and that basically controls how much the blade moves forward as it goes up and down. So the higher the number, if you put it onto 3, the more aggressive the cut is, but the rougher the cut is. I tend to switch that off for fine cuts and I keep it on off or 1 most of the time. They've also both got the same 5-speed control for the motor. Again, I tend to leave that on 5 all the time and I don't really change it. This old one came with this dust collection tube, which is mediocre at best. It gets maybe 50% of the dust. This one didn't come with one, but there is one that you can insert here, and it's about £5 plus shipping. It's a separate piece that you have to buy. It's a basic jigsaw. There's just not much to it in my opinion. It's a fairly standard tool. So what's the problem? I used this jigsaw a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times, and I started finding it really hard to cut straight. I was having to hold the machine at like a significant angle to the cut line that I was making to get a straight cut, and I was thinking, this is not right. So I started looking into it a little bit and I noticed that the blade was moving quite easily in the mount. I compared it to my old one, which is rock solid, and the blade doesn't move at all in that one. I sent it back to Makita, they fixed it and sent it back to me. I popped the blade in and it seemed to be cutting fairly straight, and I thought, great, maybe I just got unlucky, maybe there was a flaw with this one when I received it. However, after a few cuts, it seemed to be happening again. So I sent it back to Makita for a second time, and this time the Makita engineer called me and said, there's nothing wrong with it, we've done all the tests. And I said, well, no, I think the blade is wobbling, it's not sitting straight. He said, no, we've got a special tool that we've put in there, we've tested it, it's absolutely fine. I'd only checked it once and then just sent it back. So I said, okay, fine, I'll take it back. He did ask me what brand of blades I was using, and I thought, why would that affect the blade wobbling? Like, those two things to me don't seem to be related, but maybe it is. Anyway, it came back to me, I tested it out, and sure enough, the same thing happened again. However, this time I wanted to get someone to actually investigate the issue. So I emailed them first and sent them a video of the issue, and I got a response saying, I've never seen this before and I'd really like to take a look at it. And I thought, great. However, when they arranged a collection of it, it didn't go to that guy in Milton Keynes, instead it went to Glasgow. So again, I get a phone call from the engineer and he said, there's nothing wrong with it. And this time I was sure, I'd taken the video. I said, there's definitely something wrong with it. I'll send you the videos highlighting the issue. I got the machine back yesterday and the blade was tight. Great. But I've just done about 1.8 meters of cutting in 18mm chipboard and it's already loose. I can only assume that for some reason this model is fundamentally flawed, that this mechanism is too loose, or just the way that it's been designed just makes this tool not fit for purpose. And the reason that it's so important is if the blade can rotate freely, then as you're cutting, it can just turn at any time. And so if you're trying to cut a straight line or you're trying to cut a curved line, whatever, if you're trying to follow a line, to get it to go straight, you've got to hold the machine at this angle. Great. That's fine, that would work. If the blade was permanently at this angle, that would be fine. But then the blade can just suddenly jump and point that way. So then you're cutting that way. So then you correct it and then it jumps the other way and you have to correct it again. The blade has to be held tight for you to have any control over how the jigsaw is going to cut. And it's not just about cutting straight, it's about cutting along any kind of line. So any blade wobble is detrimental to a jigsaw's performance. I suspect this jigsaw is the bottom of Makita's range, and that's what I want to get confused or talk about a little bit for a minute. Makita and other tool companies do this all the time. There's no easy way of understanding where a tool fits within its range. For jigsaws, it's maybe slightly easier because there's only 3. The 180 is the oldest, then the similar looking 182, and then the slightly ugly 184. Honestly, when I first saw the battery mounted like this, I thought it looked weird. If you compare them and review their specs, they're pretty similar, with only minor differences. In my opinion, the biggest difference is whether they have a brushed or a brushless motor. The 182 and the 184 also have a soft start feature, which seems to be universally hated, but it can be disabled. Looking at their average prices, you can see the oldest is the cheapest, which is fair. It's got a brushed motor and it's been around for ages. Then the 182 is the most expensive by quite a margin, and the 184 is almost the same as the old 180. Now, perhaps the price is the most important guide here. Maybe price correlates with quality, but not always so. I suspect the 180 is the best quality, being older, but the other two have got newer technology, so maybe they're better in other ways. I'm not the first person to ask this question, and this Reddit thread covers the same topic. What's the difference between the 182 and the 184? Someone jumps in with a key point. Apparently the 182 is made in the UK and the 184 is made in China. Maybe that's the sole reason for the price difference. Maybe they are indeed similar quality. They go on to say the 184 feels solid. The original poster notes the different stroke length and mentions there might be cheaper internals which make it less durable or powerful, and boy was he right. He got the 182, not this one, and he's happy with it. I could take it apart, but honestly, I don't know what to look for other than plastic versus metal gears, for example. There's a great YouTube channel called AVE or AVE, where this guy takes apart tools in his bolter series, and he clearly knows what he's looking at. His review of this Makita drill made me buy that specific model because he was so impressed with the internals. However, I can clearly see on the outside that there's more metal on the 182 than there is on this 184. Crucially, the part that holds the blade is entirely metal.
Just going to pause because after filming that, I decided why not take it apart and have a look. And you can see here that my intuition was spot on. There's a lot more plastic than metal in the 184. It's got metal gears, but the parts are housed in plastic, so the frame of the mechanism is plastic, while the older 4350 has everything contained within a metal case. I couldn't easily see how to open the metal case, so I didn't try, but watching the mechanism actuate, it seems clear to me that this is a budget tool that is not designed or built to last. And that's disappointing from Makita, and I suspect that the 182 is better quality throughout.
However, every failure is a learning opportunity, and I'll be more careful about which tool in that range I buy in the future. Some other tools though, like their combi drills and their impact drivers, have way too many options to easily understand which is the best. So here's a message to the tool companies. Give them a rating. Help customers understand the quality of the tool that they're buying so that they don't get buyer's remorse. Presumably there's like a crap, good, better, best system. Maybe the best is always the most expensive, but I don't think it's always the case. But help us understand what we're buying so that we know if we're buying a better quality tool or not. Here's my ratings for the DJV184. I'm going to give it 9 for value. It's pretty cheap for a jigsaw. Overall, it's got all the functions that jigsaws have. It's a fairly standard tool in that sense. For utility, I'm going to give it a 1. In my opinion, it's simply not fit for purpose. Why this tool has been put out like this, I don't know. Ease of use, I'm going to give it an 8. I find the ergonomics of it pretty good. I think that the base plate could be better and it could have something that when it gets tightened, it locks in at 90 degrees. I think that would be better. Overall, I'm going to give it 8 for form and finish. In general, I quite like Makita tools. You know, the plastic that they use is fine. It's probably getting cheaper than the older ones. The rubber stuff's fine. It's a nice looking tool. Sorry, no, it's not nice looking. I think it's a bit ugly, but yeah, form and finish, it's well finished. It's just not maybe very attractive. Overall, I'm going to give it, for a beyond utility rating, 2. And that's tough because maybe it should have 1 because it's not fit for purpose, but it does have some other good points. Yeah. Overall, I think 2's fair. Key question though, would I buy it again? I think you know the answer. Absolutely not. I simply can't recommend that anyone buy this tool. I think that the 182 is probably a bit better. It seems to have decent reviews out there. Maybe I should have got that one. But honestly, I'm just not sure I can bring myself to buy another Makita Jigsaw. I mean, this one is good, so if the 182 works as well as this one, that should be fine, but I feel myself inclined to go into another brand for my next Jigsaw. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found that useful. If I've missed anything or if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to respond. Thank you.